Hello and welcome to episode number 59 of the Wise Guys Podcast. We're at 59 already. I'm John Tortorelli with my co-host Brandon Capizzello. Today, Justin could not make it with us, but he'll be back. He'll be back for our episode either on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. And right now, BCAP, we have much to discuss in the NFL. Starting off with our NFL Week 14 Pick'em this week. They're going to be predicting every divisional winner and wrapping things up with NFL teams in no man's land. That is one of the most exciting topics, because last week we discussed, not at length, but we did mention some teams with great futures that could break out next season. But talking about Thursday night, Brand, we've got today, Brock Purdy's questionable versus the Seahawks. How are you feeling this Thursday morning?
Feeling good, rocking, ready to go. Just went to the vet to drop off a little poo-poo sample for my cat. Feeling good.
So, I'm feeling all right. I woke up late this morning, and with that being said, the thing that does excite me is Brock Purdy on a short week potentially playing. So tonight's game, we get the 49ers going up against the Seattle Seahawks. And I said going into this game that the Seahawks would not win, and this would extend their losing streak. Now they're at Lumen Field. For you, Brock Purdy's got this oblique/rib injury, which he suffered early in their game last week versus the Buccaneers. We're going to start off for Thursday night, obviously. Can they win without Brock Purdy at quarterback? Their backup is Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson, that is. I'm trying to pull up my goddamn pick'ems because they just logged me out for some reason. But yeah, I think I picked if I'm not mistaken, I picked it a couple days ago. I picked the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, Brock Purdy's injury is not, what you would like to see happen right now. Josh Johnson, he's a veteran. He's bounced around a lot in this league. But yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna take the Seattle Seahawks tonight. Divisional game in Seattle. I don't know what the weather forecast is. I would really love to know what Kyle Shanahan versus Pete Carroll's head-to-head record is. I wasn't able to. I didn't have the time to Google that, but. Yeah, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks tonight, but I could easily see the 49ers pulling off a win. They do have the much better team. Another thing, I think Kenneth Walker is going to be back tonight.
That's big time. He missed last week with an ankle sprain. I'm looking up right now in StatMoose, my man. Kyle Shanahan record versus Pete Carroll. Can you take a guess for me while I stall?
How many years they've been? About like 7 years. Oh, God. I probably would say the 49ers have the edge. I don't know. I can't give you a number because I don't know how many total games they've played against each other.
So Shanahan was hired in 2017. They've played each other once this year. And 2017 to 2022. That's 6 years, 6.5 worth of games because this is their second matchup this season.
So 6 times 2 is 12. Yeah, I'd probably say Shanahan probably has the lead. Maybe like 8-4. 8-4.
This is going to surprise you, my man. Since 2017, the San Francisco 49ers are 3-8 against the Seahawks.
The 49ers are 3-8?
Think about that for a second. This is what I was saying the other week when I was talking about the top 3 teams in the AFC and how weird football is. Against the Rams, Kyle Shanahan is 9-3. But against the Seahawks, he's 3-8. That's a weird little tidbit on that division, how one team can best the other. It's kind of like the NBA in the 1980s, where the Milwaukee Bucks, they have no problem being, I think it was the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird, but they just couldn't beat the Philadelphia 76ers. And that quartet of teams, one could beat the other, one didn't. A lot of its matchups. Now, talking about injuries coming into this game, we're going to start with the San Francisco 49ers while I pick it up on ESPN.com if it can come up for me. I'm patiently stalling out at this point.
And just to mention, just since Justin's not here, he did send his pick'ems. He is picking, obviously, the San Francisco 49ers to win this game.
Why wouldn't he?
Exactly.
No, we'll start off with the Seahawks. So you're saying Kenneth Walker seems like he'll be returning, and they need him big time because the running game has not been the same without him. And as for some other injuries, Al Woods, their defensive tackle, is doubtful for this game, or he was doubtful last week. He's questionable with a heel injury. That's notable. And Ryan Neal, their safety as well, has a knee injury, so he's questionable for this game as well. Talking about the 49ers fronts. Here we go. Brock Purdy, of course, questionable. Samuel Womack, their corner, their slot, is out. Deebo Samuel is also out with that knee and ankle injury. Javon Quinlaw has been injured reserve. No Jimmy G, of course. Elijah Mitchell's injured. They've had so many injuries this year. But for me, I got the Niners taking this game. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to move that to 4 wins. And really for the not the San Francisco 49ers, for the Seahawks, they have not been the same offensively. And those defensive strides we saw them take in the middle of the season, after that Tampa Bay game, I just haven't seen enough of that development. They're a younger team. They've hit some roadblocks. And I feel like for them, like Kyle Shanahan, he's going to run the football well no matter who's back there. And I can see Christian McCaffrey today, building off last week's performance. Brandon Ayuk, a little bit more targets for him. They're going to spread that ball around a lot. Last week, I think Ayuk was their leading receiver of 2 catches. They're going to move that thing around. Well, we're going to see a little more Juwan Jennings. Some Kyle Kuszczak in the red zone. I think this will be a closer game, low scoring. I'll go 49ers 24-17.
Yeah. I don't have a score for you, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I hate picking scores because it's so freaking hard, dude. There's so many ways that the game for any sport, I hate picking the scores for the games. Like especially basketball. I don't know how you're guessing at that point.
No, basketball's pointless guessing the score.
Yeah.
Next game up, the Indianapolis Colts are going up to Minnesota. The Vikings are a team I have called a fraud very regularly. And we've had commenters say, guys, they're 10-3. They're the number 2 seed in the NFC. I don't care. Number 1, they're in the second easiest division in football. Number 2, they have a negative point differential. When you're 10-3, that is ridiculous. Think about that. They have more points against them than they have points scored. They are way too reliant on my man, Justin Jefferson. And you look at that Colts secondary, what do they have? Stephon Gilmore. That Colts team, look, they haven't been winning a whole lot of games with Matt Saturday. They've been competitive. I'm going to kick it to you, Brent. Is this the week for a second one in a row the Vikings disappoint us?
No, I think that Minnesota is going to get the win here. I think that they bounce back from their last week's loss. Indianapolis is kind of falling back to the pack a little bit since Jeff Saturday's emergence. So yeah, I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings. I think they get back on track. Jetta had an incredible game last week. I think it was 11 catches for 223, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, expect to see a lot of Stephon Gilmore on Justin Jefferson on Sunday. But I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully, they can get Dalvin Cook going more. The run game has not been blowing people away. So yeah, I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings. And as for Justin, he is agreeing as well. He is taking the Minnesota Vikings to win this game.
It's a shame. Talking about injuries, Daniel Hunter is questionable for this game. Same with Harrison Phillips, the defensive tackle, and Garrett Bradbury, their starting center. It's quite clear to me, Dalvin Cook this year has not been the same player. And we see this often with running backs. Once you get to year 5 or 6, they start to regress. That's something we've seen this year with Zeke. Dalvin Cook's only from a draft class after him. So for that Minnesota look, Kirk Cousins had a very good season. You said he wasn't, or you said he was at least not playing to the level he was a year ago. I think at large, that's because the Vikings don't have a reliable number 2. Because while Dalvin Cook this year has taken a step back, so is Adam Thielen. And then KJ Osborne has not taken a step forward. He was a day 3 pick in 2020. And TJ Hawkinson had a couple of drops last week as well. This Minnesota team, I've seen it with my Steelers in 2020. They're a good regular season team that's going to win close games, especially in their division. They'll handle business for the most part. But if the season were to restart today, right, and all 3 of those teams are reset to 0-0, I think they would finish 3rd, only ahead of the Bears. I think the Packers at this point are a better team. We saw last week with these Lions. They're the most dangerous playoff team out of that NFC North.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to, a lot of things have to go right for the Lions to sneak in, but yeah, they can be dangerous. They're getting healthy at the right time. They're starting to fire on all cylinders.
Are you sure about that? With the way the Giants have played and the Seahawks' recent struggles, I think the Lions, when we pull off the playoff picture in a little bit, I think it's not as hard as people think. For the Colts in this game, Kenny Moore is questionable with an ankle injury. He was a non-participant in Tuesday's practice. We'll see what he does what he did yesterday. I'm not sure. Of course, Shaq Barrett on injured reserve, been on that for over a month now, and I really don't care. I think this is gonna be a great game. Justin Jefferson 220 last week. Where Stephon Gilmore may be the most underrated player in the league because he's not in New England anymore, so no one looks at him as that premier corner, but he's still that. He's still one of the best in the game, and I think for that Colts secondary, that's their biggest strength. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of, number one, that defense, one of the better units in the league. I think it's only a matter of time before they actually make that statement win. They're close to it against those Eagles. This is going to be the week for me.
Yeah.
Next.
Speaking on Stephon Gilmore for a second, though, love to see him come back to New England. I think he's on a 1-year deal. I think we can get him for cheap. But listen, man, New England could be having a couple reunions next year.
What are the other ones?
Tom Brady, Bill O'Brien. I know you don't want it to happen, but it's.
If Tom Brady goes to New England, they're still the third or fourth best team in the AFC East.
Yeah, you think that, but they won't be.
Brandon, Tom Brady's in the worst division in football this year, and he's about to lose that playoff divisional lead to Steve Wilkes, Sam Darnold, and the Carolina Panthers. You think if he goes to the same division as Josh Allen and that Bills defense with Sean McDermott, the Miami Dolphins, who this year have had a very good season, and it's only year one with this head coach and quarterback, and then the Jets, who have a top 5 defense, and they may get a better quarterback next year. No, they may be the worst team in the AFC East if they get Tom Brady.
No, buddy, no. Because the deficiencies are what they are. We're still a very good team. I mean, we just have deficiencies, and those can be fixed pretty easily. I mean, obviously, getting Matt Patricia out of the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach position, bringing Tom Brady back, getting Bill O'Brien in, shoring up that defense a little bit, get him a number one. I mean, I just tweeted Justin because I saw a little clip of from Monday Night Football, DeAndre Hopkins coming up to Bill Belichick, and the first words out of DeAndre Hopkins' mouth to Bill Belichick were, "I love you, man." And I'm just saying, could happen. Why would you not want to go play for the GOAT head coach and possibly the returning GOAT to New England? Why would you not want to go play for that?
I think you're pushing it.
That would piss you off. I know 100% that would piss you off.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it would.
If I'm DeAndre Hopkins and I can build a wish list of teams I can go to,
yeah.
I hate to break it to you, buddy, but New England is not number one.
Okay. Well, I mean, neither of us are in DeAndre Hopkins' head. I just laid it out for you. I think going to play for the GOAT head coach, the GOAT coming back, why would you not want to play for Tom Brady? Why would you not want to play in that type of system? Winning football.
I'm sorry, man. But if I'm Hopkins, I'm easily looking to go to one of KC, Dallas, or Los Angeles. Play Justin Herbert. They get a new head coach in there. All of a sudden, that Chargers team is ready to win now.
I don't think
actually win a playoff.
I don't think either of those three teams can afford DeAndre Hopkins.
No, the Chiefs, they've already saved a lot of their assets to move off of Tyreek.
Yep.
But I mean, if they're negotiating with Bill O'Brien, maybe they can get him for like a 4th or 5th round pick.
They're not negotiating with Bill O'Brien, so could happen, John.
That's the thing. I don't think Hopkins would want to play with Bill O'Brien, bud. I don't think he'd want to be anywhere near him.
No, he would be wanting to play with Tom Brady.
No, but Brady's not. He's not going to New England. I'm telling you.
Know that.
Why would he go back to New England?
Do you think he's going to retire? What are the odds for you, percentage-wise, of retiring after the season?
I think Brady is most likely to stay in Tampa.
You think he's going to stay there with how bad they've been this year?
With how bad a division that is, yeah.
But still, they have not been good. They've been injury-ravaged. Even if you come back next year, Mike Evans is going to be a year older. Chris Godwin, a year older. Todd Bowles is still going to be there probably. Shaq Barrett's coming off a torn Achilles. It's not. I understand Tom's affinity for the Glazer family, right? That owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has a lot of respect for them, but I think Tom is always going to look at can this team provide me what I need to get it to the promised land? And I think that he's going to look at it and say, you know, why wouldn't you want to come back to New England? As I'm saying, I mean, top 5 cap space. We're going to have a good first round pick, and you get to write a Hollywood story ending. It's that you can't get better than that. You really can't.
I'm not sure if he wants to work with Bill Belichick again.
I never bought into all those rumors. I'm going to be honest with you. I never bought into any of those rumors that there was that conflict between them. I just think Bill looks at it as a business, and I think he simply said, I can't keep testing, the waters, playing with fate, I guess, going up against Father Time. So I'm going to move on. But I think the way that Brady has played the last 3 years and how Bill Belichick's quarterback situation has been the last 3 years, I think he would be foolish not to look at it and say, I made the wrong decision.
I think it'd be foolish to just assume that for the reason Brady to leave New England was to go to a team in Tampa that had 2 stud receivers.
Mm-hmm.
New England had 0.
Yeah.
So he probably left because Belichick, the GM and the head coach, wasn't willing to build around him, which at his age, he was hoping he could have players that can elevate him and make those explosive plays. If they're not there in New England, and he's already saying, look, you failed to build around me once, what's going to change this time? Let me go to a team like San Francisco.
They don't want him, John, though. The Shanahan said no to Brady twice. Twice.
I thought that was John Gruden saying he wanted to stick with Carr.
No, that too, but also Shanahan said no. Brady has basically like admitted it in less words that San Francisco was the place he wanted. He wanted the first time he was a free agent. He had meetings with the Shanahans, and they said no because they don't want a quarterback coming in there with their own mindset and game plan. They want a quote unquote puppet. That's what they want. They don't want Brady coming in there and messing with the secret sauce. All right, they said no to him twice. Then this last off season when Brady retired, he had meetings. He had meetings with the Shanahans, and they said no again.
I don't blame him. Whatever that sauce is, that's a special recipe they got going on.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've got that recipe too, and you've got Brady's genius level intellect, and still playing at a high level, especially if you surround him with that type of freaking talent, I'm sorry, but they seem idiotic not to want Tom Brady, especially he's not going to affect the cap at all. He's going to sign a cap-friendly contract. I think that was idiotic of them. I think Brady's never going to come out and say that who that famous quote was about, where he said, you're going to stick with that MFer, I believe was the quote. He's never going to come out and say it, but I think we can all assume and know who it was. It was Jimmy Garoppolo.
I thought it was Derek Carr.
I think it was Jimmy Garoppolo. So for me, San Francisco said no to him twice. If he tried it again, they're going to say no again. So I don't know where else he would want to go. I think New England is just a perfectly set up place to end this Hollywood story.
It's nice for a man to dream, Brian.
It is. That I admit it. It is a little bit wishful thinking, but anything is possible. I don't think anybody 4 or 5 years ago would have predicted Tom Brady would have left New England. I think everybody thought he was going to be a lifer, and then look what happened. So
he left,
and now he could come back.
Next game up, we have the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Cleveland, a Browns team that has lost almost. They handled the business against the Texans, but they're 1-1 with Deshaun Watson, and the injury report for the Browns coming to this game. David Bell, questionable. The rookie receiver. Amari Cooper, questionable. He's resting. He's older. John Johnson, he's questionable. David Njoku as well. JOK, Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa is on injured reserve with a foot injury. Myles Garrett's questionable. He'll play because he's him. Denzel Ward, he's also questionable. Who do you have winning this game?
I have Oh no. Okay, I had Baltimore here, but I think I'm going to switch that up. I think I'm going to go. Let's switch it right now. I'm going to go Cleveland. It's in Cleveland. And while Deshaun is not playing better, I think you can look at the first game against Houston. You can look at the second game. I think he made good strides. He's still not going to be what he was when we last saw him 2 years ago, but that's fine. I think Nick Chubb can carry that team to a victory. He's been quiet lately, but I think that with Tyler Huntley under center for Baltimore, I just think that the Cleveland Browns can get this W. As for Justin, though, we know where he's going. He's sticking with the Baltimore, winning that division. He's going with Baltimore.
I love Justin, but I mean, this Raven team beat 10 different players on injured reserve. Tyler Huntley is questionable at this game with a concussion sustained against the Steelers. Lamar Jackson is at the practice with that PCL injury. If Anthony Brown is out there, I'm sorry, I cannot go with the Ravens. And even last week when they did win, J.K. Dobbins did not look right breaking out a 40-yard run. This Raven team has been beat for 2 years now. Look, the Browns are taking this game. Next one up, Miami at Buffalo. The Bills, I have to start giving, of course, our point spreads to these games. My apologies for not. The Bills at home. Dolphins coming off of 2 embarrassing losses. This is the last of Tua Tagovailoa's big boy tests. How good is he really? At least in the regular season. The biggest of which.
I think there's one more in the regular season. I think that New England game is going to be a test because of where it is in New England. It's going to be cold, and their defense is still pretty good. And even though Tua won that game and he's undefeated against Belichick, he didn't play particularly well in the first game of the season.
The Bills.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Bills are 7-point favorites.
7-point favorites, and I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I think it's projected to be a very cold and snowy night actually, because it's at 8:15. Saturday. Boy, we're getting Saturday games. A little weird, but okay. But yeah, I'm going to take Buffalo. I predicted Miami was going to lose 3 straight, starting with San Francisco. They've lost 2 straight. I think that this is where it continues. And I think my prediction when I said a couple weeks ago that the Miami Dolphins were going to finish 4-4 and finish 10-7 to end the season and not make the playoffs, and both you and Justin looked at me like I had 2 heads. I don't think it seems that crazy now, does it?
Well, yeah, we'll see. You're right. So I got the Bills winning this game. I'm sorry. Tua was able to get them with that W in week 3, but I mean, this Miami offense hasn't looked right. And like you said, how good are you when things aren't going well? How do you respond? For Tua, we've seen his ability to return, his ability to come back when things weren't going well, right? I mean, some people are looking at him as a bust gun to this year, and he's responded by having an MVP caliber type year and mere production. So I'm not going to down on Tua. But given this Miami offense right now is badly beaten and we haven't seen him respond and rise up to the occasion, I think the Bills win this game. It'll probably be a little bit higher score than I think. I think Buffalo can drop 30 on this Miami defense. They're very susceptible in the secondary. And honestly, this could be a game where the Bills cover the -7. Yeah. Next game up.
So you're expecting high scoring in terms of the Bills' favor, that they're going to score high points.
My prediction for this game: the Bills game 31-35, Miami 21-24.
Yeah, I think that's a little high too, just because of the conditions, and we know that Miami's run game has been very inconsistent this year. Yeah, I could see Buffalo covering and scoring some points. And as for Justin, he's obviously taking the Buffalo Bills.
Next game up, Philadelphia at Chicago. The Bears officially eliminated from the postseason at 3-10. They're 9-point underdogs in this matchup. At home, the Eagles this year have feasted on matchups where, hey, look, they're the better team every single week. And even if it gets close, like we saw against the Commanders, and of course, or the loss against the Commanders and the Colts, they're going to find ways to win. For me, it's pretty easy. Man, this Bears defense is abysmal. Maybe the worst in football right now. For this Eagles team, they're going to drop 30-plus points. And I think this is a game where they probably cover the -9.
Is Justin Fields back yet, or no?
They had the bye week last week, so let me check. I'll come back to it in 20 seconds.
Yeah. As for Justin, he's taking Philadelphia, and for me, I'm taking Philadelphia as well. I agree with your sentiments. I think that this is going to be a game where they're a little outmatched. Chicago. I think Philadelphia is going to be able to get the W.
So Justin Fields was questionable with illness, not the shoulder injury that plagued him before the bye week. Also on the injury report is Chase Claypool, who missed Wednesday's practice with a knee injury, and Khalil Herbert, who's landed on injured reserve with a hip injury. I think for Chicago, no Justin Fields in this game. You're rolling with Trevor Siemian. Yeah, that could be a game where they score 7 or less points. Hopefully Fields plays, because he's probably one of the 10 most electric, probably one of the 5 most electric guys in football right now. Next game up, the Atlanta Falcons going to New Orleans. Typically, when a 5-8 and 4-9 team go head-to-head in Week 15 of the NFL season, the game does not matter. Brent, the AFC South is a one where it does. The Saints are a 4-point favorite, 1 o'clock on Sunday on Fox. Man, this is probably the most boring potential playoff matchup between two teams trying to get in. I've got the Falcons taking this game. Atlanta this year has been one of the more bizarre teams in football, right? Because their draft decisions have not matched the style of play that they've put out there week to week. And Marcus Mariota, he's on injury reserve with the knee injury. It felt like to me, from some of the outside reporting, that since being benched for the rookie quarterback out of Cincinnati, and not my man, I don't know why I'm saying that, and Desmond Ridder, this is a Falcon team where you have no idea what's going to happen under center. That being said, Mariota this year has been one of the worst starters in football. I don't know why it took them so long to bench him. I'm still going with the Falcons. Andy Dalton may be playing well. He has in some of these matchups, but this Falcon team can run the football. And even if there's no Kyle Pitts, I still see that continuing against this Saints defense.
Interesting. Yeah, me and Justin are picking the same team. We're going New Orleans. I think it's in New Orleans. Both teams obviously have not been playing well. I just think New Orleans has a more. I'm expecting Alvin Kamara to have a big day because he has not had a big day in a little bit. This has not really been a great season for him, so I expect him to have a big day against the Atlanta Falcons in New Orleans.
I've got a question for you.
Hmm.
Brandon, do you know the last time Alvin Kamara had a 100-yard rushing game?
It's probably been a while because he's more of a dual threat, so probably last year.
Week 3 of this season against the Seahawks. Really got the W. Now, his last game with 100 total yards, you had to go all the way back to their Week 8 matchup versus the Raiders. Their 24-0 W where he had 62 on the ground and 96 through the air. Alvin Kamara's had a down season. And like I was talking about before for running backs, when they get to year 5, year 6, you start to see that regression. Some of it with this Saints team is the offensive line is not necessarily what it was. You lose Trevor Penning early in the season, and Ryan Ramczyk is really the only true blue blood, that true, I guess you could say blue chip on the right tackle side. And yeah, Kamara this year, he's gone from, as a rookie, 6.1 yards an attempt. Insane efficiency when he had more of a limited role too. These last 2 years, 3.8 yards an attempt. That's yikes for me. And with this Saints team, Marshawn Lattimore is questionable with an abdominal injury. That's pretty huge. If he does not play, I think he will because he's him. And then, where's the injury report? You're killing me. ESPN.com. It does the thing where it's loading. Eric McCoy is an injury reserve. They're starting center. And Cameron Jordan as well is questionable with a foot injury. He's on the older side, so I think he'll play as well. I'm still rolling with my Falcons. I think this is a week where they ground the rock, they win the time of possession battle, and last but not least, it's going to be a low-scoring affair where they just control the game, they dictate the tempo, and Desmond Ridder gets his first NFL win as a starter. Next game up, Lions at Jets. Home game for New York. Last week we saw them against the Buffalo Bills keep it a close game. 8 points on the road. This Lion team is riding high right now with an offense that has been explosive all year long, but now a defense that's starting to slowly but surely round into form after firing their secondary coach following that game against the Dolphins earlier in the season. Maybe this is a hot take, but I have Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and the Motor City Boys rolling into New Jersey and getting the W. That's just me. What do you think coming into this Week 15 game?
Well, I picked it a couple days ago. I picked the New York Jets. simply because they have a great defense, and I think that they can cause problems for even though the Detroit Lions offense is playing at a high level, I think that they can cause a little havoc. I think the real battle is going to be what can the Jets offense do against the Detroit defense that even though they've been playing well the last couple weeks, um, they're still bottom 5, I believe, in total defense. I like where your head is at picking Detroit. God, this is such a tough game
The
because
line for this is flat even.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Jets offense is just putrid. Apparently Zach Wilson's going to be the backup. God. You know what? I'm following suit with you, John. I am going to switch. I'm going to pick the Detroit
Don't
Lions.
switch sides.
No, I'm coming. I'm coming over. Don't push me away. I'm coming over. I'm picking the Detroit Lions to go into New Jersey and beat the New York Jets. As for Justin, he's lone wolf in it. He's picking the New York Jets.
Of course he is. Now listen to this stat. The Jets defense this year ranks 6th in the league in points against. The Lions, they rank 5th in points for. So you get the 5th and 6th highest scoring defenses, or the lowest scoring defense versus the highest offense going head to head. And then the other fronts. The Lions this year, 31st in points against. That is second to last in the NFL, whereas the Jets in offense are a cold 22nd, which I thought would be a little bit lower, but that's bottom 10 in the league. Look, I think it's pretty straightforward. Jameson Williams making his return. Jamal Williams this year has been getting the red zone nonstop. That Detroit offensive line is right up there with the likes of Philadelphia and the top 3 of the league. Penei Sewell last week, game-sealing first down. I thought that was awesome. I don't know if you heard Dan Campbell on the Pat McAfee show and discussed what happened and the leading moments to that catch. You see it?
No, I didn't catch that.
Basically says the stadium was so loud he couldn't hear a damn thing in his speakers. And then Ben Johnson goes, "Hey, coach, you qualified," and he couldn't hear a damn thing because the fans in the crowd. He's like, "Oh, yeah, sure, yeah." And then he turns around. He sees Penei Sewell run out for a round. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then Penei Sewell catches it for the first down. He's like, "Okay." And Pat McAfee goes, "Well, I mean, the football gods are on your side, clearly." Yep. Ben Johnson this year has done a phenomenal job. And I think, if memory serves, he was a maligned offensive coordinator coming into the season. Remember last year, that Lions offense was nowhere near as explosive as it has been this year, but it's the breakout of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been injured this year, had a concussion, he had the ankle injury, but when he's on the field, I mean, that is one of the very best slot receivers in the game. Mm-hmm. Now you pair up Jameson Williams, who got his first TD last week in a broken coverage versus the Vikings. And then you still got DJ Chark, who's been injured. He was on injured reserve. He's coming back. We've seen him make a Pro Bowl. That is one of the better receiving corps in the league. And a year ago, you could have made the case that was the worst. So it's been a full 180 for them. And talking about the injuries coming into this game, we'll start off with whatever team comes up first on ESPN.com. Come on, give me the Lions with the Jets, baby. Okay, so Frank Ragnow, their center, is questionable at this game. Same thing with their offensive tackle, Taylor Decker. No injury designations or comments for the reason why. And to go along with those two things, it's, I guess, important to note that their safety, and CJ Moore is also questionable as well, and Will Harris, 2 other safeties. Now, for the Jets, this is not very productive, I'll tell you that, BCAP. I'm using ESPN.com. Corey Davis is questionable with a concussion. John Franklin Myers, he's been very good for them this season at the end. He is also questionable to go along with Dwayne Brown. And most importantly, Quinn Williams. You can make the case Quinn Williams is the best player in the Jets, and this year he's been the best D-tackle in football. He is also questionable with a calf injury. He did not practice on Wednesday, and his status for Sunday's game is totally up in the air. But maybe the thing that matters most of all this is Mike White, because we don't know if he's going to play either. Their head coach, Robert Saleh, said with ribs, he was a limited participant in Wednesday's practice, but they're preparing as though he will start against the Lions. Look, Mike White last week fought so hard, he was ready to go to the hospital after the game. And his teammates are saying, "We love you." And really, after seeing a quarterback in Zach Wilson who came off as a spoiled brat earlier in the season, Mike White, he got that starting job, and he has a stranglehold on that. He's like, "I'm not letting this go. I'm probably going to never get this back if I let it go on this team at least," because he's done enough this year to get a second opportunity on some team around the league, at least as a stopgap backup. And so, look, if he gets banged up in the first couple of this years, we can see Zach Wilson soon up and coming in there, probably stinking up the game. In all due respect, I don't I'm very far out in the Zach Wilson train at this point. I don't think getting benched for 2.5 weeks is going to change that. Next game up, the Steelers going to Carolina. They're a 3-point underdog. And Kenny Pickett last week got his second concussion of the season on the first series against the Ravens. As a Steelers fan, I said it. I mean, it's really hard to watch this team. With no Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky threw 3 interceptions, 2 in the end zone, or in the red zone, 1 in the end zone. And it's just like, at this point, look, Matt Canada, he had some good weeks. Last week was not a good performance by him. If you thought Matt Patricia was bad, I want you to watch one of his route concepts where it's basically a max protection, and you have 2 receivers running fly routes with nothing over the middle of the field, and there's literally no hot route, no check down, so when nothing's open, Mitch Trubisky can't even deliver to the running back. So, that offensive coordinator, over-aggressive backup potentially, probably playing, given they rushed Kenny Pickett back in 6 days after that concussion versus the Buccaneers to go out there against the Dolphins, I think it was. And then the worst part about all of that is the Steelers' defense. I mean, they got run all over last week against that Raven team. Patrick Ricard literally had himself a feast, just plowing through the middle. And this Panthers team, what they like to do, Steve Wilkes coming in, like to run the football, Deontay Foreman. And defensively this year, J.C. Horn has been amazing. They've been one of the better defenses since firing, of course, Matt Rule. I think the Panthers win this game at home, and as a Steeler fan, I'm okay with that because I'm just focused on us getting a top 7 pick.
All right. Well, Justin's in agreement with you. He's picking Carolina. However, Brandon's on the different path. I apparently have more faith in your Pittsburgh Steelers than you do. I think, swing that terrible towel. No effort. I'm going Pittsburgh. TJ Watt's going to be playing. Listen, man, Sam Darnold is not that guy, even though he's played well last couple weeks. I really think Mike Tomlin, his coaching is going to push them over the edge here. So I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers to win. Probably a close game. And all I got to say is, where the hell was that Mitchell Trubisky when he was facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Why did he pick that game to play like he's God mode?
It's weird, Brandon, because in both games he was aggressive. In the Tampa game, he picked his spots better, where he wasn't throwing in triple coverage, and he actually could read linebackers drop into a cover 2 look, which is one of the most basic defensive formations for a quarterback to read. Najee Harris not practice this week with a hip injury. Cameron Sutton as well is injured. The Steelers are at a point where they have a lot of free agents, and because they're not a playoff team, I'm afraid some of these players are going to start playing for themselves to get more money in free agency, and they're not focused on coming back. Of course, Pickett with the concussion, Pat Freiermuth did not practice with the foot injury, and Chris Wormley landed on injured reserve with a torn ACL after their game versus the Ravens. That was a big game for him because he was initially on that team, traded to the Steelers back in 2020. And Larry Ogunjobi also is questionable with Miles Jack. They've got a lot of injuries, this Pittsburgh team. Now, for these Carolina Panthers, I think we saw them last week. They get a W on the Seahawks, winners of 2 straight with Sam Darnold. I think the I think the Panthers are winning the AC. God, John, you're killing me. I think the Panthers are winning the NFC South.
So this is now the 3rd team that you have picked to win this division throughout the season. Started with the Saints, then it went to the Falcons, and now you're putting your faith in Sam freaking Darnold.
I'm not really putting my faith in Sam Darnold. I'm putting my faith in a crappy schedule, an easy one for the Panthers, where Sam Darnold, man, I think he's been humbled, and he's just going to make some necessary throws. He's on a team that has a very good defense. They're going to control the game. The locker room has come together after firing Matt Rule, and some of that interim energy that's carrying over. I don't think that's crazy to say.
I think it's 100% crazy. Yeah, no, I don't see Carolina winning this division, and Tampa Bay is going to win this division. So yeah, I don't see that outcome happening.
We'll find out on January 1st, New Year's Day, when the two face off in Tampa Bay. And guess what? Sam Darnold beats Tom Brady and potentially puts his season to rest. How about that? Because think about this, Brent. The Panthers have already beaten the Buccaneers one time, 21-3, again with PJ Walker. So they're going to have the tiebreaker. They get that second one. And I feel like it's quite clear This Carolina team has a Formula 2 win. They do.
Yeah.
Still got DJ Moore, one of the best receivers in the league. Run the football well. Quality defense. Quarterback play has been better, right? It can't be much worse than what it was to start the season. Next game up, the Cowboys at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are a 4-point underdog at home. Cowboys 10-3, close one last week, whereas the Jaguars got themselves a comfy W against their division rival and Titans. Who do you have winning this game?
Well, Justin has the Jacksonville Jaguars. Me, on the other hand, I'm picking, the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. I just think that they are the better team, even though the Jaguars have been playing well the last couple of weeks. I think Dallas is going to, I can see this game being close, but I think Micah Parsons shows himself this game. I think the Zeke and Tony Pollard have a big game. So I'm expecting the Dallas Cowboys to pull out a victory and get ready and coming in hot to face the Philadelphia Eagles in the biggest game of the year, potentially next week on Christmas Eve.
That's a nice foreshadowing to our Week 16.
Muted, John.
So nice foreshadowing to our Week 16 matchups. For the Cowboys, Jake Ferguson questionable, same with DeMarcus Lawrence, and Terrence Steele, offensive tackle, landed on injured reserve with a knee injury. That's a pretty big loss for them. We talked about that on our Tuesday episode.
To a degree. I mean, like I said, they still have Jason Peters, Tyler Smith there. Tyron Smith's going to be coming back, so they have people that they can plug into that position.
I've thought about this one a good amount. Trevor Lawrence has shown us those spurts that were there in the beginning of the season. And this Jacksonville offense is incredibly volatile. I don't like doing this. I really don't. But you know what, Brian? You know what I'm going to do? I'm picking the Jacksonville Jaguars to get this W at home. This is a game where, for the Cowboys, you escaped last week, but you ain't escaping this week if you have a down game, Dak Prescott. I'm talking about you, my man. And you talked about Zeke, Tony Pollard, them doing their thing. I think this Jacksonville defense, Trayvon Walker, getting going a little bit more in recent weeks. Dude, they're not a team you can overlook at 5-8. They're truly a team. They're making a playoff push because of the fact that it's still up in the air at the Titans' loss this last week. Talk about injuries. Brandon Scherff questionable. Trevor Lawrence has a toe injury, so wasn't spotted at practice on Wednesday, but I think he'll be fine. And Trayvon Walker also with an ankle, considered day-to-day ahead of their matchup. I think it may sound crazy to you, but to me, it's quite clear. This Cowboy team, they're due for a loss. They're due for one. And I think this is the week against Trevor Lawrence. Next game up. Kansas City versus Houston. The Chiefs are a 14-point favorite. I said last week that the Texans would probably cover versus the Cowboys, and they surely did cover. They almost won the game. So I'm not going to say this week that this is going to be an absolute blowout, but in a game where literally everything went in the Texans' way, they still lost. I mean, you had the interceptions. You're getting these big-time games like Chris Moore or Mario Rodgers, and still, you don't get the W. One of the biggest talking points I feel like for that game, of course, was the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. But for the Texans, Dameon Pierce suffers an ankle injury, has not practiced. He's doubtful. That is their offense right there. The other part of their offense, Brandon Cooks, had a calf injury, and he was there at Thursday's practice, but he wasn't going through. He appeared to be going through drills. He also doesn't want to. What?
He also doesn't want to be there either.
Yeah, that's a good point. He got an extension this last offseason for $18 million, so he's getting paid respectfully, deservingly so. And Nico Collins, number 2, is sidelined still with a foot injury, or he's just sidelined. If no Dameon Pierce and no Pierce in this matchup, I think the Chiefs could cover this game. Derek Stingley as well has a hamstring injury. That's 3 of your best players right there. Yeah, that's a rough one. Steven Nelson, former Steeler, he has an ankle injury. Stingley has a hamstring. Nelson an ankle. I think the Chiefs cover this matchup. They win by 2 scores.
Yeah, I think that the Chiefs can cover this matchup as well. I think with Dameon Pierce or without, I still think the Kansas City Chiefs win this game. Justin agrees with us. He's picking Kansas City. It's a clean sweep. I mean, Kansas City is one of the best teams in football. Texans are one of the worst teams in football. It's pretty much what it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So for the Chiefs in this matchup, Kadarius Toney has a hamstring injury,
Mm-hmm.
and McCole Hardman's on injured reserve. He has been for the last couple of weeks, last 2 weeks. Next game up, Cardinals at Broncos. You told me when we were going on a Tuesday episode, Kyler Murray, man, what happened?
Well, Kyler suffered a non-contact injury and he has torn his ACL. Sucks for him. It's gonna for him especially because of how much he does rely on his athleticism and his legs. So he's gonna have to attack that rehab harder than most other players. It's gonna be a tough one to come back from. So now they're going to be playing with Colt McCoy, but I forget who said it. I forget who said it. Oh no, Bill Simmons said it when he was on the Manning cast on Monday night. He said he actually thinks that the Cardinals play a better brand of football with Colt McCoy under center. But even with that, I mean, yeah, but tell me what the status of Russell Wilson is, though. Can you tell me what that status is? Because that's really what I need to know.
So Russell Wilson, he was put in concussion protocol in their loss against the Chiefs. Close loss. One of their most promising losses of the season. They've had many of them. As I still find the Broncos injury report. So Russell Wilson coming into this game, questionable to concussion. He did not practice yesterday.
And was it confirmed that he had a concussion or he was just in concussion protocol?
Now it is.
Now it is? Okay. Yeah, so going into that, I think we might be able to be a good assumption to say he's probably not going to play. So their backup is who's their backup? It's God. Who's their freaking backup? I don't remember that guy's name. I'm forgetting his name.
It's a tough one to remember.
Yeah.
Brett Rypien.
Okay, yeah. So two backups are going to be going head to head in this game. Man, if Russell was playing, I would have so much more faith in Denver just because of the defense, and at least you'd have Russell Wilson. But with the backup QB, it's a tough one. So I think I'm going to stick with the Arizona Cardinals to pull off a victory. It's not a game that I mean, only Denver Broncos and Arizona Cardinals fans are going to be really tuning into that game. As for Justin, he's sticking with the Denver Broncos to win that game at home in Mile High.
Jeez, we talked before about the Ravens having 10 players on injured reserve. The Broncos, Brandon, they have 15 players on IR. 16. Billy Turner, Randy Gregory, Jacob Martin, linebacker, Mike Boone, running back. He was placed on it this last week with an ankle injury. So that right there is 4. Number 5, KJ Hamler, third-year receiver at the hamstring. Number 6, Chase Edmonds, who they got, remember, from the Dolphins midseason. Number 7, Jonas Griffith, linebacker. Number 8, Mitchell Fabiani, long snapper. Number 9, Lloyd Cushenberry, that's a starting center. Number 10, Caden Stearns at safety. Number 11, Aaron Patrick, linebacker. Number 12, Garrett Bowles, that was a huge loss earlier in the season. 13, Ronald Darby. 14, Javonte Williams, PCL and ACL, so he may miss a start next season. 15, Casey Tucker, offensive tackle.
And Tim Patrick, you didn't mention, but he was injured in the early season, but I'm pretty sure they put him on IR.
They don't even have him listed on here.
Yep.
That was before the year. And Kendall Hinton, he was technically their third-string receiver. He is also not practicing with a hamstring injury. Brandon McManus, he's questionable with the quadriceps injury. He's taking a step back this year. That Bronco team has not only been hampered by injury, I mean, their season, I think, was completely ruined by it. And while I was critical of them earlier in the season, just because I felt like I had to be, I'm going to roll with the Cardinals in this game. Colt McCoy, like you said, this year, he's become one of the best backups in football. And so with the receiving talents, I think that Cardinals offense is going to still get some points on the board. And in the wake of Kyler's injury, I think they come together and get a big-time W after losing to the Patriots on Monday night. Next game up, we've got the Tennessee Titans against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite at home. CBS 425. Man, this is one of the most important games of the week. these are two teams that have shown the upside to play at a high level, but the reality of what they are is an average team. Justin said coming into this week that he could see the Chargers become a top 5 team in the league if they start to get healthy defensively with Derwin and Joey Bosa being back in the mix soon. But I'll be honest with you, Titans coming off of an embarrassing loss last week versus the Jaguars, I think they respond. And while Derrick Henry usually does his best against division rivals, I think he gives these Los Angeles Chargers a nice punch in the face, running right down the gut, and Ryan Tannehill has himself a very nice day.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a Derrick Henry game. He's had a couple of issues with the fumbles this year, but I think, that Los Angeles Chargers defense has just been injury ravaged, and like we've said, even when they were healthy, they were not playing at the level we all expected them to play at. I think Tennessee can get back on track this game. I know it's in LA, but still, I have faith in Justin Herbert, but that defense, man, if Tennessee can stick to their game plan, which is play good defense, sound defense, run the football, make the smart Ryan Tannehill, make the smart plays, get that play action game going, keep time of possession on their side, not play stupid and not get penalties. I think Tennessee can win this game, man. I think I agree with you. I think Derrick Henry is going to have a big day. As for Justin, you know where he's going. He's going Los Angeles Chargers.
So Derrick Henry this year, 4 fumbles in the season, only 1 lost. That's the second highest of his career. Now, you talk about this Chargers defense, B-Cap. They are 28th in opponents' rushing yards per game at 147.
Oh.
That's a team that has had issues for a while now. Shout out Jeremy Tillery in terms of stopping the run. Derrick Henry's had some struggles this year. He had 2 30-yard rushing games in back-to-back weeks before this last game versus the Jaguars. Now, against the Jaguars this last week, he had how many yards in the first quarter? I think it was like 70 or 80. What did he finish with? Let me check right now. I think he finished with like 121.
It was like, 130 or something like that.
Yeah, only on 17 carries in their loss. Look, I know it may seem crazy because Justin Herbert is on the other side, and we're getting to a point with Herbert where he's a top 5 quarterback. When that guy's on the opposing side, he's healthy. We're seeing him get healthier now. Betting against him more often than not will be a fool's errand. And it is. But I just don't have enough faith in these Chargers' weapons.
Yeah.
And
like you say, this is the ultimate team sport, and the Chargers don't have a better team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Joey Bosa is still an IR, and Derwin James is questionable. Even if James plays, what do the Titans do really well? They stop the run. If you can neutralize Austin Eckler and you're missing both of your tackles, Trey Pipkins is questionable. I think we're at a point with these Chargers, man, where they may have these signature wins. But look, if you don't win more than they lose, you're going to miss the playoffs. And this is a crucial game for them. I'm just afraid they're not healthy enough in this point of the year.
Because they're currently not in the playoffs. New England is in the playoffs right now.
And what team is the tiebreaker between those two?
New England owns the tiebreaker against the Jets and the Chargers.
That's a rough one for Los Angeles. Now, next game, moving on to the Patriots versus the Oakland Las Vegas Raiders.
In Vegas.
In Vegas. The Raiders in this matchup are a 1-point favorite. They're 5-8. The Patriots are 7-6. I got a good chuckle on this.
That the Raiders are favored. That's disrespectful.
I got a good chuckle.
It's not really, because home teams are given 3 points. So the Patriots are technically actually favored by about 2 points because the home team is given 3 points automatically.
Look, this is the premier matchup that we were all waiting for coming to the season of Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniels. Teacher
Student
versus student.
Yep.
And, Josh Jacobs has had a great season. That being said, I think Bill Belichick is going to put Josh McDaniels on a silver platter, and he is going to absolutely ruin their day on the offensive end. That offense, man, Belichick's going to have an answer for it. And I think that New England secondary, Marcus Jones gets his first interception of the season. I'm mixing up with the other 3 Jones out of the team. I thought he had 3 at this point. He didn't.
Yeah.
I think that New England defense is going to put Derek Carr in a straitjacket. He's going to be seeing ghosts. He's going to be lost. Last week, 13 passing yards in the second half of that game. Come on, Derek Carr. We're at a point where we hype him up so much to be a top 10 quarterback, and how does he respond? He plays like a bottom 10 starter in the league this year with all these weapons. I don't care if Hunter Henry and Darren Waller are banged up. You got Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. I don't want to hear the garbage. Man, I got the Patriots taking this game. And are they going to cover 1 point? Yes, because they're winning.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Justin, both of you were taking the New England Patriots. Now it's going to be a little interesting because I believe Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow have been activated for this game, or activated off IR, I should say. I don't know if they're confirmed to play in this game. And the Patriots defense came out of that game with a couple of injuries against Arizona. Jack Jones, the kid that you mixed up Marcus Jones with, he left the game early. Devontae Parker had a concussion, so he's probably not going to play in this game. Damian Harris, hopefully he's going to be back. He missed last week. Ramondre Stevenson went down. I haven't heard an update on him.
He's questionable with an ankle injury. It wasn't spotted yesterday in practice.
Jacoby Myers missed last week's game, I think, with a concussion. Hopefully he's back. But I agree with you. I think that this is going to be I think the interesting matchup for me is the Patriots defense versus the Raiders offense, because we're going to see Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniels in what both guys do best. So that's going to be the very interesting matchup. I'm sticking with my Patriots. I have confidence. I think Bill Belichick is still, even though lately he's had some rough moments against former coaches / players and Mike Vrabel, but I think that he knows Josh McDaniels all too well. It's like that old saying, I taught you everything you know, but I didn't teach you everything I know. And I think Belichick's going to have a couple tricks up his sleeve for this game Sunday afternoon, which was supposed to be Sunday night, but it's fine. I understand the flex. I mean, they put Washington and New York now, even though it should have been Tampa Bay versus Cincinnati. I mean, Brady versus Burrow. Come on. But yeah, I got New England. It's just, yeah.
They already did that to my Steelers against the Bengals. Why not do it a second time to Cincinnati? Just as disrespect. Even as a Steelers fan, I can acknowledge. The Bengals are the most fun team, honestly, right now in the AFC. The most. Now, for the Patriots, one thing I don't know if you noticed, Christian Barmore is on injured reserve. That's a pretty crucial blow for them with a knee injury. Man, you can say all of that to me, and I don't care. I do not care. Do I trust Derek Carr? No. Josh Jacobs questionable with the hand and quad injury. Hunter Renfrow is designated to return, and so is Darren Waller. But will they? We'll see. We'll see how they look after missing the last month or so. And I just think, man, it comes down to Derek Carr versus Bill Belichick, and every single time I'm not picking Carr. Next game up, man, the Yahoo Sports app. Oh, no, it's the ESPN app. Excuse me, Yahoo. They're killing me. They keep refreshing. We got the Bengals at the Buccaneers. The Bengals are a 3.5-point favorite. I think it should be more on the road. And given they're on a 5-game winning streak, beating many quality teams, and looking as good as they have with Joe Burrow playing at a top 2 level, he's been the best quarterback in the league. Post week 4, dude, I got the Bengals clearing this Buccaneers team. I don't know if it's going to be a close game, because you look at the Bengals and all they've had to overcome, Brandon. Last week in warm-ups, T. Higgins aggravates his hamstring. He misses the game. Tyler Boyd didn't play. Joe Mixon comes back. He and Samaje Perine doing their thing. No Hayden Hurst. It doesn't matter. This Bengals team has continued to find ways to win at a high level and just churn out touchdowns and points no matter who's in the lineup. And I think it's this Buccaneers defense last week gave up 35 points, technically 28 because of that interception Brady threw. I think this week we're going to see this Bengals team score 30 as well. And defensively for this Bengal team, they've had some tough injuries this year, right? Trey Hendrickson's questionable with a wrist injury. That's huge. I mean, he played through a broken wrist last week in the fourth quarter. That's insane to me. And Mike Hilton, he's the one reliable presence at cornerback in the slot. He was non-participant with a knee injury. I think he came back in that game against... who'd they beat last week?
Oh, God, I'm drawing a blank.
The Browns, of course. Hilton came back in that game. And Hayden Hurst, he seems to be doubtful with the calf injury. All of that being said, Higgins limited in practice. If one or he or Boyd plays, that doesn't matter to me. I think the Bengals offense is going to do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really, I can't sit here and really debate you on that. Now, It's going to play in the Bucs' favor, obviously, if T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd don't play. Less things for them to worry about on offense. But the Buccaneers have been injury ravaged. Obviously, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea, I think they don't expect to be playing. Antoine Winfield, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Mike Edwards have missed the last 2 weeks or more. Tristan Wirfs not playing this game. It's a tough road.
Joe Tryon Shoinka's questionable with the hip injury.
God damn it. I ain't betting against Tom Brady. Now, am I confident? Not very much. But I'm not betting against Tom Brady. And guess who isn't either? Justin Ray. We are going with Tampa Bay.
That was a nice round. That was a cute thing he had going on right there. No Tristan Wirfs either in this game. He's doubtful with a ankle injury. Good luck. That's all I have to say. I don't know who's going Jamar Chase in that front. Giants going to Washington, 8 o'clock on NBC. The Commanders are a 4.5-point favorite. I said it. The Giants would lose 4 of the last 5 games, missed the playoffs at 8-1. And this is the game where I think the Commanders, yet again, take care of a Giants offense that last week we saw Saquon dealing with that neck injury. He's not up to speed. And when Saquon's on 100% in that gimmicky Giants offense, man, it's quite clear to me they're not a playoff team. And these Commanders are going to roll through them and get their 8th win of the season. I'm loving it. Every second of it in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to go with Washington. I just think that the Giants are starting to get exposed, even though the Washington Commanders are not that good of a team either. I just think the Giants are starting to get exposed for what they really are. So yeah, I'm sticking with Washington. I mean, bad finish to the game the last time they played, 20-20. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But as for Justin, he's lone wolfing it again. He's picking the New York Football Giants.
This is the same guy who took the Eagles last week to lose to the Giants. Unbelievable. Okay. So Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson are both questionable, limited participants, and Chase Young and Montez Sweat were both questionable as well. I don't really care. The Giants' offense has no meat on the bone at all, and you're still missing a lot of key players. Leonard Williams was out last week. Adoree Jackson's out with a knee injury. He has yet to practice. Man, good luck to J-Rad. That's all I've got to say. Next game up, the last one of the slate, the Rams, Baker Mayfield, 11 days of rest, going to Green Bay on Monday night. Packers, 7-point favorite. They've been starting to figure things out on the offensive end. I think for the Packers, it's quite clear they're a pretty good team at this stage of the season. Now, is their year over? Basically, they've just about been eliminated from playoff contention. But I'm not betting against Aaron Rodgers, man. I'm sorry. Baker had a good moment, but these Rams, they're a 3-win team for a reason, or a 4-win team, whatever it is. I've got the Packers taking care of business on the home.
Yeah, as much as I would love to pick the Los Angeles Rams, it's just the team is just not what it, was. I don't know Aaron Donald's status of this game, but Green Bay is starting to. I mean, Christian Watson has 100% figured it out. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with Green Bay. Justin's picking Green Bay as well. We're going 3-0 for Green Bay. Yeah, but I'm still gonna be rooting for my boy Baker on that field.
Christian Watson, through his first 6 games in the pros, 0 touchdowns. Last 4 games, 7. Romeo Doubs was injured. He was banged up. Randall Cobb was on IR. And of course, Allen Lazard this year has been unreliable as number 1. If we could reset the clocks to week 1 of the NFL season, I said if this Packers offense can just develop as the year goes on, look, they're going to be a playoff team. They're going to go on a playoff run. Unfortunately for them, it's a day late, $1 short. And that's the reason why, it's quite clear to me, Brian Gutekunst's got to go. This was a pretty bad offseason, even if Quay Walker as well has played better as of late. And it's just unfortunate that the NFL didn't extend the season to 20 weeks. Otherwise, the Packers would have a chance to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, that's not how things work. And so, that's a wrap, fellas, on the 2023. And it's time to see my guy in Jordan Love. Until then, I'm not really too interested in what the Packers got in store. And the Rams have 4 wins, not 3. 4-9 football team. Now, I want to play a fun game, round table discussion between you and I. We're not going to go in depth, but I want to see kind of where you stand in week 15 of the NFL season. Who's going to win each and every single division? I'm going to give you a division. I'm going to list the top two teams, the teams in contention, and then you're going to kind of give me what team you have winning the division.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
First division up, the AFC East. Starting with the AFC, Bills 10-3, Dolphins 8-5, number 2, and the Patriots and Jets 3rd and 4th at 7-6. Who takes the East?
Yeah, Buffalo. Even though I do have Buffalo losing the last 2 games of the season, I have them finishing 12-5. I have the Miami Dolphins finishing 10-7. The Jets are going to be anywhere from finishing 1-4 in the last 5, or just somewhere in that range. I mean, there is a real possibility that they go winless. As for the New England Patriots, I'm still going to stick with my pick. I think that they are going to win the game against Las Vegas on Sunday. I think they're going to beat the Dolphins. I think they'll beat the Bills. So, and then I think they play Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken, after this week. But that'll be a loss. So I do have Buffalo still taking this division.
I agree. They play the Patriots on Christmas Eve. Not bad, not bad. Not as good as the Steelers, of course, playing the Raiders. I mean, that's the best game of the day. I had the Patriots not winning the division. I had the missing playoffs. I had the Bills taking it easily. Second division up. This is pretty easy. Much like the Bills, Chiefs 10-3. Next team up, the Chargers at 7-6. 2 of the Chargers win out, Brandon, as the Chiefs lose out.
No, I have the Chiefs winning that division. They got, like I said, they've got a pretty good cakewalk to end the season. Chargers, I just don't see it. Yeah, I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this division.
Now, this is the most interesting one. AFC North. Jay Wright has the Ravens taking this one, which is a hot take with no Lamar Jackson currently. And the Bengals coming in second place. Both teams 9-4 between Baltimore on a 2-game winning streak, right? They've won 2 now with Lamar Jackson being out. And the Bengals, they haven't lost since the start of November. What team do you have taking the AFC North, BC?
I'm sticking with my preseason pick, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're firing on all cylinders at the right time. They're getting healthy at the I mean, a couple injuries here, but for the most part, they're getting healthy at the right time. They're getting that chemistry back. I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, obviously, the one detractor in that statement is they have a much tougher road to end the season than the Baltimore Ravens. I said that 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago when we talked about it. I said if they switch the end of the season, the Ravens and Bengals, there's no way you can tell me that the Ravens are going to win this division. The only way you're saying that is because of the schedule they have, because the Ravens don't have that hard of a schedule to end the season. But I'm going to pick my confidence because pressure builds make what the hell is the builds or makes? Is it
pressure makes diamonds?
Yeah, okay, yeah. But you know what I'm saying though. So and they've got the tough road, and I think that they're going to come out better for it. Give me Cincinnati taking that division.
The Ravens end the season with the Browns this week, the Falcons next, the Steelers on January 1st, and then the Bengals in the last game of the season, which Justin said that's the game where the Ravens take it all. Now the Bengals, they've got the Bucs this week. I got them winning. The Patriots next week. I got them winning. The Bills after at home, and then they end off the season, like I said, against the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the Bengals are writing the same exact script that took them to the Super Bowl last year. And maybe this is a hot take, BC. Cincinnati is the best team in the AFC. Defensively, they're well coached. They've been able to overcome all these injuries to key players. Now, if DJ Reader, Trey Hendrickson, and Mike Hilton are all healthy, with Jesse Bates and Von Bell at safety, I think it's quite clear they got good linebackers, they've got a good team up front. That Bengals defense can win them a playoff game. And then Joe Burrow right now is the best quarterback in the league. He's playing like it at least. It's not a shot at Mahomes, it's not a shot at Hurts, but we're seeing him. Jamar Chase win games. Now, if Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are both healthy with him, it doesn't matter who's at running back. I'm sorry. There is nobody beating the Cincinnati team. And that includes Buffalo, who they're going to play in 2 weeks. So, yeah, for me, I had the Ravens actually getting the last seed, and as always, getting knocked down in the first round of the playoffs. And the Bengals go in the Super Bowl. So, I think this is the year the Bengals also win the Super Bowl. I think the NFC is not that good. Next division up, the AFC South. Brandon, this is a division I talked about highly coming into the season. I pumped up the Titans. I said the Colts would win 12 games. No, I actually had them win 11 games. And I had the Jaguars also being a friendly playoff team, in the playoff hunt at least. And through 14 weeks, there's only one team with more than 5 wins. The Titans at 7-6. They have lost 3 straight games. They're 3-3 at home, where they'll be building a new stadium. And in spite of having a positive record, they have a minus 35 point differential. They may have the formula to winning when Derrick Henry is running well and all of that, but they lost last week with him going crazy. The Titans, they got 2 games of a cushion on the Jaguars till they lose this stranglehold on the South. Jaguars are 5-8.
Yeah, I think just it's kind of just a tad far gone at this point. 8 losses is a little too high for me. I mean, the Titans would have to. I don't know the tiebreaker there, but the Titans would like to confirm the Jaguars winning that division. The Titans would have to lose 3 games, and the Jaguars would obviously have to win out.
Jags the tiebreaker, by the way.
Yeah, so well that works in their favor. So they only have to hope for 2 games, but it's just for me, it's just a tad far gone. Yeah, I think the Tennessee Titans will be able to pull it off.
You want to hear the Titans' season-ending schedule?
Let's hear it.
No pun intended. The Chargers on the road,
Mm-hmm.
the Texans on Christmas Eve at home, the Cowboys at home December 29th, and the Jaguars Week 18 on January 8th.
I think at best 3-1. The loss being to the Dallas Cowboys. At worst 2-2, losing to the Jaguars at the end of the season and the Cowboys.
I like that Cowboys matchup for them a lot. I do. I think they can stop the run and really get Dak Prescott to do what he usually does in big games. Now, talking about the Jaguar schedule, they've got the Cowboys this upcoming week, so they both got the Cowboys. Then they got the Jets on the road. They got the Texans as well, and they finish off with the Titans. Both of these teams have tough schedules. I think the Titans win the division as well. Now, moving over to the NFC, Brand, this is a funny one because the Eagles are the first team in the NFL to win their division. That should not be a surprise. They had the easiest schedule, at least one of, coming to the season. And so far this year, it's actually been tougher than we thought coming in, but the Eagles are the best built roster in football. And Jalen Hurts has just taken so many steps forward as a passer. Now, the NFC West, 49ers 9-4, number 2, the Seahawks at 7-6. The Niners have won 6 straight games. That is the longest winning streak in football currently. Do you think they somehow lose the stranglehold in that division?
No, I think the San Francisco 49ers can pull it off. I just think that it's a little bit too far gone at this point. Similar with the other teams that we just talked about. So
Niners end the season with the Commanders, Seahawks tonight, Raiders, and Cardinals. I think they beat the Cardinals Week 18, even with no Kyler. Raiders, they get that W. Commanders, I do think they win. I'm agreeing with Justin. I think these Niners do win out. They end the season with 13 wins, 13-4, number 2 seed in the NFC. Next division up, the NFC North. The Vikings, they have a 4-game cushion over the Lions, but they still have not clinched it so far. Lions 2-game winning streak, Brandon. They've been a very competitive team as of late. They actually, listen to this, the Lions have a positive point differential while the Vikings have a negative one. Do you think if the Vikings lose every single game, the Lions can win this division? The Lions' schedule on the season, let me help you out here so that you have a clear idea of what they're working against. This week, they got the Jets on the road. Then they got the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers Week 18. Can the Lions win all 4 of those games? Will they is the better question.
I'm sorry, you said the Jets. What was the second team?
Panthers.
The Panthers. Okay. I think they can win out. I think that they lose one of those matchups though, either to Chicago or Green Bay, and I think that knocks them out of the playoffs. That because they have to be perfect, like you said, and I think that they'll lose at least one of those games to end the season against their division foes.
The Vikings in the season with the Colts, Giants, Packers, and Bears. They're going to win at least one or two of those games.
Yeah.
Namely, the Bears and the Giants. Those are two gimmies, I feel like. Now, last division, the NFC South. I told you about 20 minutes ago that the Panthers would surprise some people. Currently, the Buccaneers are the leader at 6-7. They're a 4-3 team at home, which is nice. They play at home this week against the Bengals. The Panthers are also 4-3 at home. The Panthers also are riding high on a 2-game winning streak with Sam Darnold. They have not lost with him so far this year. And ironically enough, Brennan, both of these teams have a negative 30-point differential, the same exact number. Now, these Buccaneers, the fact that they're 6-7 at this point of the season, no one would have really expected coming in. But they are. And they end the season with the Bengals at home this week, the Cardinals on the road, the Panthers week 17, and then the Falcons week 18. Who will win the NFC South, Brandon?
It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. I mean, I said basically from the beginning, even this game against Cincinnati, I told you there's not much confidence, but I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady. But I 100% with full confidence believe they're winning the last 3 games of their season. I just fully believe that, and I think that is going to get them over the hump. So I think that they, regardless of the outcome of this game against Cincinnati, they will finish with a positive record. Now, either that's going to be 10-7 if they win this game, or it's going to be 9-8 if they lose this game. But I just fully believe that they're going to win this division with a positive record, and I don't see any of the other 3 teams being able to get to that level.
Yeah, I just don't know, Bryn. Losing to 4 different backup quarterbacks with a defense that has really struggled this season and an offense that can't make the timely plays. I feel like with this Buccaneers team, they're going to lose against the Bengals, they're going to lose against the Cardinals, they're going to lose against the Panthers, and that's going to put them, dare I say, at a record of 6-10. They'll win week 18 against the Falcons. They'll end the season 7-10, but the Carolina Panthers, Brandon, they're going to win 3 or 4 of these next games. They're going to beat the Buccaneers week 17. They're going to beat the Saints week 18 to clinch the division, and they're going to beat the Steelers this upcoming week. That's going to put the Panthers, BC, at 8-9. And what do you know it? Maybe in Tom Brady, the greatest player of all times last season, he's going to lose the division to Sam Darnold, Steve Wilkes, and the Carolina Panthers. I'm not even saying this as a joke because this Carolina defense has played very well. And that's an area where they've invested a lot of draft capital into it. So for me, you can call me crazy, but this division's a joke, and I think the Panthers take advantage.
No, I don't see that at all. I'm sorry.
Did you see them being 6-7 coming to the season?
No, but again, even with that, I'm not putting my faith in Sam Darnold and Steve Wilkes over Tom Brady. That's just not happening.
Well, they have a better record this year than Tom Brady.
Okay, yeah, they have a much smaller sample size, though, as well.
Well, typically, the larger sample size will favor the better player, right? And if Brady has a larger sample size...
Well, like you said, it's the ultimate team sport, so...
And if the Buccaneers are clearly the safe bet to win this division, they would probably have a better result, better record at this point, I feel like.
Well, they're going to win the division. Like I said, they're winning the last 3 straight games. There's no way they're losing. And Tom Brady is not, and the Buccaneers are not going to lose 2 games to the Carolina Panthers this year. They won't lose to the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, Cliff Kingsbury is a joke. And that defense is a joke too. And they're not going to lose to the Falcons. I just do not see that happening.
Well, did I see Sam Darnold having 0 turnovers through 2 games against the Broncos defense and the Seahawks? No, not really, but he has 0 turnovers. There's 2 starts.
That's fine. Still not going to get it done when it counts most.
Okay. Bearded Sam Darnold will disappoint you come week 18. Now,
He will disappoint you.
No, he won't disappoint. He's got a little expectation.
Freudian slip there. A little Freudian slip.
NFL teams in no man's lands, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of different ways you can go here. There's a couple of different options. I think the clear answer is New Orleans Saints. They trade up in the draft to get Chris Olave and Trevor Penning. And after Drew Brees retired and Sean Payton stepped down, they said, we're going to make a playoff push. And through 14 weeks, they have 4 wins. They have no quarterback. The biggest question with them and Jameis Winston, well, that question didn't go so well. And the head coach and Dennis Allen has not been very good. Their 2 best players, Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, have 1, been injured, and 2, taken big steps back. And that top 5 defense I talked up like I was a Saints fan coming into the season, well, they've been good. Not great. And in the NFL, the 3 most important things. Number 1, having a quality, savvy front office. Number 2, having a head coach that can lead. Number 3, a quarterback. The Saints have no answer at QB. They're going to have a top 5 draft pick this year, more likely than not. And guess what? That pick's going to Philadelphia. Their head coach, Dennis Allen, is not a head coach. And their general manager, he's done a great job. He's done a really good job in recent seasons. One of the best ones in the NFL. I mean, I felt like, and maybe I'm just kind of setting up the Saints fans to be upset at me, Mickey Loomis was like a top 3 or 4 GM in the NFL. His ability to maneuver the cap and consistently build high-level teams. Well, I mean, you've gutted a good amount of your flexibility long-term into really nothing. The Chris Olave pick was great, and that's the only thing they have working for them. And the worst thing about all that is, the Saints push down the can long enough down the road, they're in cap hell. If there's anything good in New Orleans, it's that they have a fire basketball team. But I think for the New Orleans Saints, we're going to see a team that's going to be in purgatory for quite some time. So that, to me, is the number 1 team with a gloomy future in the NFL.
I'm piss some people off with this one, but I'm going to stick in the NFC. And for me, when you say no man's land, to me, what I think of instantly is a team that is kind of right in the middle. Like they're kind of stuck, as you would say, in purgatory, where they can be competitive. You know, they could win some games, but at the end of the day, you know what they are. And that's the New York Football Giants. For me,
Step forward. Step forward in that chair.
I'm trying to help out my back, John, a little bit. So for me personally, I just see I don't have faith. Now, again, full disclosure, I do not watch college football. All I go off of is, past knowledge of what I know. I don't have faith in the names coming out of the draft this year. In the quarterback position, because they are going to have to move on from Daniel Jones. He is not a franchise guy. He is a good backup quarterback, but he's just not franchise material. You have to move on, because when you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback, you know what you are at the end of the day. You can surround him with the talent on offense. It's just, at the end of the day, he's going to show you what he is. A good backup quarterback. And that's fine. Like, that's better than a lot of people, a lot of people don't even make the NFL. A lot of people, flame out a couple of years in the season. Daniel Jones can make a career. Now, it probably wasn't what he expected the career to be, picked 8th overall, but he can make a good career as a good backup quarterback. Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick, Teddy Bridgewater now, Colt McCoy. These guys, Taylor Heineke, you can make a good living as a backup quarterback. And I think he is perfectly fit for that. That is not me diminishing him. That is me being real and telling you what I honestly think. So for me, and I just don't have faith in the quarterbacks coming out, especially they're going to have, they're not going to have the worst pick. I don't know if they're going to be able to get into that top 10 pick range for how good they played in the early season. So for me, I just see them in no man's land. They have a good defense. Saquon up in the air. Is he going to come back? Is he not? Are you going to pay him the big contract? That's a little iffy. You're paying a running back that much money, and he's been injured for his rookie contract. You have to go get weapons, and like we have discussed ad nauseum, there's not that many high-rated receivers on the free agency market. Can you make a trade? Yes, but now you're going to have to give up some draft capital. For me, it's just the New York Giants. They're right there in the middle. They can be competitive. They can win games like they have this year. But at the end of the day, you know what they are. And that's not a playoff team.
Yeah, I'm in full disagreement here. You can't look at the Giants last year, hiring Joe Shane as their general manager and Brian Daboll as their head coach and say to me, they're trending downward and that they're trending into purgatory. The Giants winning 7 games through 14 weeks is unbelievable. You have no receiving talents. Saquon Barkley is the only player in this offense who is a capable NFL starter, and you're starting a rookie tackle at right side. The defense has been hampered by injuries, and the roster as a whole is in a year of development, right? Joe Shane came in, and there were a handful of cap casualties. He had to cut James Bradbury, one of the best corners in the league. For this Giants team, you go from Dave Gettleman to Joe Shane, and I believe wholeheartedly in this front office making better draft decisions, savvy cap moves, and having a better understanding of what wins games. So, as a Steeler fan, I appreciate high-level GMs. I think you can as well. The Giants currently have the 23rd pick in the NFL Draft. I think they're going to finish the year 8-8, which will put them around the 19th selection, right around that mix of wild card losers and teams that miss the playoffs. I think they around the 17th or 18th pick, not the 19th. The 19th pick is a team that makes the playoffs because there's now 7 teams that make it opposed to 6. You said, I don't believe in any of the quarterbacks coming into the draft. And I do agree with you, Brad. So there's Bryce Young out of Alabama. He's undersized, but he has a cannon for an arm. He reminds me a little bit of a young Russell Wilson because he can create plays out of structure. Then you have C.J. Stroud, who good size, good arm. He has a lot of good skills, but there's no elite quality. And so I have a tough time pigeonholing him in as like a top 5 pick. I think he'll be a good prospect. He's a really good college player, but I'm not sure in the NFL if he's worth the pedigree of a top 4 or 5 pick. A lot of scouts are looking at Will Levis out of Kentucky, who has tools, he has arm strength. Some compare him to Zach Wilson. You're already shaking your head. No.
I kind of compare him to the Daniel Jones.
Will Levis.
I mean, think about it like this, right? Both schools that those guys came out of are not known for football. They're known for basketball, as you well know, Duke and Kentucky. And if you look at that kid's stats, they don't compare, man. Like,
So
I understand they're gonna fall in love with the size, right? He's got the size. You know, he looks like a prototypical NFL quarterback. But just to me, man, if you're inconsistent in college, you've got an even tougher road when you get to the NFL.
Okay, so this is where you and I are in disagreement. Most quarterbacks develop at different rates.
Mm-hmm.
A Josh Allen at Wyoming had crappy stats.
Mm-hmm.
He went to a small school, for football at least. Jordan Love, he went to a Mountain West school. His stats weren't good at all.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, their stats are off the charts in that 1 year of college they played. And that's why I say you can't just look at a quarterback's production and say, oh, you know what? I believe in him or I don't believe in him. Because ultimately it's how their game projects and the type of character they have to develop and take those necessary steps to grow in those areas of shortcomings so far. That's why I love Jalen Hurts, right? He came into college as a running back, but he had the mindset, the leadership qualities, and that pure will to outwork anybody in the room. And he already was a great runner. Now we're seeing Jalen Hurts, a pretty good NFL passer. The quarterback that I love for the Giants, Brandon, is a toolsy prospect out of Florida who has good production, but not the best efficiency. And his name is Anthony Richardson. He's projected to be a 2nd-round pick, maybe somewhere in the late first, kind of like a Lamar Jackson. Dude, he's 6'4", 230, and he can run at an elite level. He's got arm strength. He's got the ability to extend plays, make something out of nothing. Really, in today's NFL, what Anthony Richardson will be is a playmaker. Now, Florida, the one drawback for a lot of people is the dude's a 4-year starter, and he's not even completing 60% of his passes. So you look at the production in college, and you say, 54% completion percentage. He has a lot of things to work on. Only 2,500 passing yards. It's also his first year as the full-time starter. Year 3 for him. I think in the NFL, he has all the makings to be a franchise quarterback, but it's all about the team maximizing his skill sets. Dude, we've already seen Brian Daboll work with Tua, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. I think if the G-men get Anthony Richardson, they're in an amazing position this offseason. You franchise tag Daniel Jones for 30-something odd million. You keep him for a year, and you let Anthony Richardson sit a season in the ranks. He gets to learn because he's not NFL ready day one. And then in the meantime, you'd like to give Saquon Barkley a team-friendly deal where it's not going to kill you if he has these injuries, but you're going to compensate him as a top 5, top 3, top 1 back in the league. Don't put too much guarantee money on the table. 3 or 4 years, you have to give that guy his bread. And then next year, you get Wan'Dale Robinson back off his torn ACL midseason. In the first round, you can look to go with Jordan Addison or the receiver out of Iowa State who had a down season, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I think for this G-Men offense, all you really need, BC, is a high-level number 1 receiver. You get that young quarterback that can develop. He'll take 2 or 3 years. Now, I'm telling you, Brian Daboll will develop him. It's all about finding the right character. So I don't really feel like the Giants are in purgatory, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, when you said that completion percentage, that my eyes lit up because I'm just like, if you're not completing passes in college where the window is kind of like this big, I mean, think about it in the NFL where the window gets shrunk into like this big. It's not going to look good. He'll probably be compared to a Cam Newton-esque in terms of that size. I'm sorry, I just don't believe in the quarterbacks that I'm hearing about. Maybe it'll change when we start getting to, when they start talking about more of the draft coming up, and I'll start to hear more and see more things, and maybe my opinion will change on some of these quarterbacks. But as of right now, my initial response to these quarterbacks coming out this year is just I just don't have the faith in them. It is what it is. I have faith in Brian Daboll, but again, coaches can only do so much. I mean, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it.
Man, Josh Allen had a 56% completion percentage in college, Britton.
Again, but I also believe. But to me, Josh Allen is overrated. We differ on that, but I think that he
Is
is.
Josh Allen an elite quarterback, BC?
No, I think he's got way too many deficiencies in his game. Because the definition of overrated is what? I mean, some people think that he is so highly rated. I mean, you guys talk about him as either he's the best player in the NFL or he's top 3 in the league. Usually that's really the consensus of the NFL world. For me, he's not even in my top 5, So there's too many setbacks with him.
So we're in disagreement there. I won't react to it. I think for the G-Men, they're in a good position long term. And oh, by the way, Matthew Stafford, he was number 1 overall pick. He had a 57% completion percentage at Georgia, another SEC school. Anthony Richardson's only been a starter for 1 season. Will Levis too. Stafford started all 3 years as a true freshman, a sophomore, and a senior. So, yeah, the completion percentage may be good. It's all dependent on the situation they're going to and the type of kid.
Yeah, and I just don't think the Giants have a very good situation to walk into in terms of the team around them.
Daniel Jones this year's been pretty good.
Especially the offense. Well, when you compare him to what he's put out, I mean, it's not saying much.
We'll see. With all that being said, I wish we had talked about this earlier in the show. I want to say rest in peace to a college football legend and Mike Leech. His passing earlier in the week. As someone that doesn't watch a lot of college football, I haven't seen too many of Mike Leach's, awesome moments, and specifically his amazing press conferences, which took college football by storm oftentimes. But from what I know, great character, very well respected, and the football world's going to miss him. And with all that being said, I know it's a tough note, but I want to thank you guys for sticking around watching to the very end. I'm excited for this upcoming week of games, and as always, Justin will be back. He'll get to do the outro for you, but we'll see you next time. Peace.
Stay classy.